It's a great question, and it's one of the fundamental questions of this entire art form. And it's one that Indigenous peoples have to be especially, and creatives have to be especially.
Hi, Julian. Hi, Emily.
Hi, Jana.
Hi,
Hi.
Jana.
Thank you so much for your time. A pleasure to talk to you both. First, congratulations. I know Sundance is so far away, but congratulations on the winner there. Also, all the nominations that you've been receiving, Critics' Choice. Also, the today, like today or yesterday, Spirit Awards, and then Gotham Awards. All these amazing. So I'm gonna start like from the beginning. What was like the importance for both of you to do a documentary like that? We can start with you, Julian. It's personal for you, but can start with you.
Um, well, this is one of the foundational stories of North America, and it's also a story that has gone unknown and untold for far too long. So, as someone who has dedicated their life and career to chronicling Indigenous life in this country and the one that my family comes from, Canada, it felt really important to do this story well and ultimately to do it. There was a long process that got me there, and maybe we'll get into that, but to do it in a personal way, because this is a very personal story for so many First Peoples across this continent. And I'm just really grateful to my family for trusting me and going there with me, especially my dad, who I moved in with for 2 years during the making of this documentary, as well as to my team, to Em and Chris and Kellen and everybody else, for giving their highest level of their craft as filmmakers, but also for giving me the human space and support to pursue this story in such a personal way, which was very demanding of me and of I think the whole team and everyone around us.
And for you, Emily?
Making Sugarcane has been the greatest honor of my life. I got to witness incredible people, funny people, smart people, people worthy of epic storytelling, overcoming unimaginable atrocity and obstacles, and doing so with so much courage and integrity. And we got to make a piece of art out of that, and not only make sure that the story is known and correct the record, but also to say something about, who we are as human beings, and connect with people and bring them into a beautiful landscape, with textures that are complicated and interesting. And uh, I think we're just so grateful that the film is being received the way that it is.
Yeah, we have there is a lot of like intimate moments. They're very close, and then to gain the trust of the people that we are talking, the documentary is very important. How you guys, because sometimes people are approach them and they don't, I don't know, sometimes the story doesn't go the way it should be, not in this specific subject, but other subjects. I already saw documentaries that go in another route, already speak to other people that doesn't show reflect the way that should be. And how did you guys gain their trust, and how did you to be like loyal to, no, you need to believe in me too, because we're gonna tell the right story the way they should be. How was like this process? I hope
Yeah,
I got the question across.
it's a great question, and it's one of the fundamental questions of this entire art form. And it's one that Indigenous peoples have to be especially, and creatives have to be especially thoughtful in grappling with, because of the very troubling history of cinema, more broadly speaking, and documentary specifically speaking, and its relationship to First Peoples. One of the very first documentaries ever made, arguably the first ever documentary made, is a film called Nunuk of the North, which is not really a documentary because it's more of a fabrication of the life of Inuit people in the far north of what is now Canada, at the turn of the century. And, a bunch of the scenes are staged. The Inuit were made to wear traditional clothing that they no longer wore in their day-to-day life and to interact with modern technology that they knew well, as though they had never seen it before. And on top of that, the filmmaker Robert Flaherty fathered a bunch of children who he just kind of left up there, which is obviously, not the best behavior. But that's one possibility of, this genre, this art form. And it's not the only possibility. The other possibility is that, the camera and documentary can tell the people who are the subjects of it that they matter, that they have agency, and that their stories deserve to be told in one of the greatest storytelling mediums that humanity has ever produced. And, the key to that is not the camera itself or the art form, it's who is, behind the camera and who the artists are. And, I would say that obviously it was helpful to have me as part of, one of the two directors and part of the crew. But I didn't shoot this documentary. There are entire scenes in it that I was not present for as they were unfolding. And our director of photography, Chris LaMarca, shot Sugarcane. And the way that they are with people and the way that we chose to go about making this film, embedding ourselves in the lives of our protagonists, in the life of the Sugarcane community and surrounding Indigenous community more broadly, I think won us a lot of trust and allowed us to capture the full truth of this history and the textures of life that are not only traumatic, but also beautiful, loving, hilarious, deeply resilient, rugged, very Western, and, very much alive and present today.
And I think that, the film also, sorry, I just lost my train of thought. Sorry, can you repeat the question one more time, Jana?
Trust. Sure, of course. No,
it's trust. Yes, sorry. Yes. It's been a long day. I apologize.
Don't worry.
I think the other thing was that this film came about in a very particular and special way that doesn't just have to do with us, but has to do maybe with other types of forces that brought us together to make this story. I had reached out to Chief Willie Sellers about following a search at St. Joseph's Mission, and he had called me and said that the creator had always had great timing for him, and just the day before, the council said they needed someone to document that search, which is not like a common thing. Not a lot of Indigenous communities would be trusting of someone to come in and follow this very important and sensitive moment, but the council of the Williams Lake First Nation was ready for this and saw the importance of it. And so they invited me in, and then I had reached out to Julian, and by the time he got back to me, I was already engaged with them to follow the search. And then I told him, of course, that the film was going to be following a search at St. Joseph's Mission. And that's the moment where he shared with me that that was the school that his family was sent to and where his father was born. So out of 139 schools in Canada, I happened to choose the one that Julian's family attended and where his father's life began. And so there were so many kind of fortuitous things that happened in the making of this film. And there was a kind of enthusiastic consent and willingness of the folks in it to really want to tell the story and be ready for that. And that really was an important part of building trust, because it wasn't just kind of our doing. There was a sense of the community wanting this. There was a sense of the ancestors wanting this. And so, yes, it was a tremendously special and unique filmmaking experience.
Yeah, I believe in that. The ancestors want you to tell their story, because there's the signs that you receive, like being friends with Julian, that the dad went to the school. I think it's like everything's connected in a way that is very, very interesting, the way that work it out. And I'm come back to you, Emily. You're a journalist. You already did news for different type of like subjects. And how was like for you like to to tell this story in a documented way? You know what I mean? What is different from the other stories that you already reported?
Yeah, so I've been making documentaries for a long time. In newsrooms, I made documentaries about atrocities and corruption and conflict and people caught in the crossfires and facing human rights abuses all over the world, from Rwanda to Afghanistan. But I had never turned my lens on my own country, and nor had I made a feature-length documentary. I had made documentaries that were at longest 40 minutes long, and to commit to years of your life to live a story alongside people is a very different thing. And I mean, it was the best 3 years of my life. I don't know what else to say. It was a very deeply fulfilling and profound experience to witness courageous people facing unimaginable obstacles and overcoming and freeing themselves and getting to make art with that, and not just art by myself, but art with an incredible collaborator and an incredible team of collaborators, to learn from them, to learn from Julian, and to exchange ideas and build a vision together. And to be freed of some of the confines of journalism, to actually build relationships with people that might not be acceptable in a newsroom, like picking Chief Willie's kids up from hockey practice, and spending my nights watching American Idol with former Chief Rick Gilbert, which was his favorite show. Those are experiences that in the making of Sugarcane that I will carry with me and cherish for the rest of my life.
That's amazing. I salute you for that, because, this is your own experience. I love that. So, Julian, as a filmmaker, what was like the biggest challenge on this process?
I think that it was really and remains very challenging to me to be both the participant and director. I'm asked to speak as as a intergenerational representative of this history, which is interesting and challenging position to occupy, and one that requires me to revisit the emotional truth of this experience, which can be quite heavy, and to try to convey that to people at the same time as I'm asked to speak to it as a director and a filmmaker who could comment on the craft and try to position it appropriately to journalists in the press and to lawmakers and all that sort of stuff. So you have to, what's been challenging to me about it is that it's almost like you have to occupy multiple perspectives and experiences within this thing at once, which can be a little bit dysphoric and confusing. And that also ultimately also meets up with the marketplace of film and all that sort of stuff, which is itself its own bizarre and weird thing. There is a way in which ultimately we're producing a film that is part of a broader market of films and what people choose to consume and what people choose to award. And obviously we feel that this life experience that we went through is far greater than what it can be reduced to in terms of the number of people who watch it, a number of awards and wins. But ultimately, unfortunately, that's the way that society and the economic forces that govern this industry, largely interact with the thing that we made. And that can also be a challenging experience when, it's your own personal and familial story that's, I guess, up for sale in a sense.
Yeah, I know, but I'm here and I'm gonna tell everybody to watch it, regardless, because it's soon gonna be like streaming. And I hope that I'm from Brazil, and I hope that can get to Brazil as soon as possible, because we have a lot of like indigenous people over there, and they suffering right now, especially in Amazon. And it's kind of you know what I mean? It's not the same story. Each one has your own unique story, but that reflects a lot of that. Also, have you guys thought there was a moment that you guys had any issues or any want to give up on doing the documentary? Because sometimes there's some stones in the way, and then you're
Yeah,
thinking giving up. But have you
I
ever thought about that?
I don't think there was ever a moment, at least I'll just speak for me, there was never a moment of giving up, but there were a lot of challenges along the way, blockages to getting access to things, frustrations of in the edit of feeling like blocked, like we couldn't break through an editorial problem, moments like that, but never to give up on the film or the story ever, because it's so much more important than us all, and we were all serving it to the best of our ability. But I think for me, it was trying to figure out how to overcome those moments, how to trust in the team and myself to move through them. And yeah, I guess that's what I would say.
Yeah, I there were lots of moments where I wasn't sure I was ready to direct this film and to participate in it. And I'm just grateful that again and again I chose to continue to stick with it and to come back to it. And I'm grateful to Em and the rest of my team for supporting me and understanding how weighty and personal of a decision this has been to navigate from start to finish.
And now that a lot of people already watch it, but we're gonna have millions of people watching, what do you want them, what do you hope that the audience will take away from the documentary?
Well, obviously, we hope that people understand that this is a foundational story to not just Canada, but the United States as well, to North America, to a great deal of the Indigenous world, in fact. This is what colonizers did to separate Indigenous peoples from their land and culture and from their children. And it happened across multiple generations. Beyond that, we think it's also really important that people come away from this understanding that there's still so much we need to learn about that history, that this film has new revelations about one school, St. Joseph's Mission in Williams Lake, British Columbia, Canada, and that should raise questions about what we don't know at the 138 other schools that operated across Canada and the 417 that operated across the United States. And then to get at those questions, we need the Catholic Church and all of the churches that ran and supported these schools to open up all of their records, as well as the governments of Canada and the United States to do the same. And in addition to that, I would also say that we probably need government resources to go to First Nations so that they can have the ability to conduct their own investigations, like the one that the Williams Lake First Nation led at St. Joseph's Mission.
I think that we hope, that beyond correcting the record, getting this film into schools and helping Indigenous communities open up dialogues within their own families, which has been kind of the most rewarding piece of this, is seeing multi-generations of families across North America, where we've brought the film to communities, really reckoning with this and beginning to talk for the first time about what happened to them. Feeling like they can forgive their parents for the first time. We've gotten so many messages like that have been so meaningful. But even for non-Indigenous audiences, we hope that people can take something from this film for themselves that is about family and love and secrets, and we can all relate to the kind of father-son and parent-child relationship and the strife we have within our own families, and trying to find our way through that and to love one another again. And I think that's universal to everyone. And I think this is a world that is beautiful and cinematic and deserves the attention of audiences everywhere. It's a story that deserves the attention of audiences everywhere, and we hope that it will stir something in you and move you.
So, I just want to thank you so much for your time, Julian, Emily. A lot of success, and I hope that reach, as I said, millions of viewers to watch the documentary. I hope so. And I hope you guys are already thinking about your next documentary, because I think you'll be amazing.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
If you like to support or continue to support Jana on Camera, don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, and share the videos.